Justin, and I'm a disaster mental health counselor with the Red Cross. I want to talk to you guys today about your stress response system and how that might be reacting with the coronavirus and the COVID-19 and these masks that we make at home to try to keep ourselves safe. But how about we first start by talking about how our bodies respond to stress from a biological viewpoint. Having a foundation of understanding how your body works from a biological viewpoint might help when you go to relax and calm yourself. Let's talk about our bodies and how they're wired to respond to stress at first. Our nervous system has two primary divisions: the central nervous system, which is the brain and the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, which includes like the somatic and the autonomic nervous system. I'm going to try not to get too confusing because it's not a biology class. But with those two parts of the peripheral nervous system, the autonomic and the somatic nervous system, they interact. And it's interesting how we're going to stay focused on the autonomic nervous system, because this is the one that directly impacts our response to stress. So the autonomic nervous system helps to regulate our organ functions. And that's divided, like your heart rate, your digestion, your pupil dilation when you get really excited. And it responds to stress and threats or imagined threats. And that's divided into two other parts. It's the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. Those are the two important ones. Well, they're all important. But the sympathetic nervous system activates our body's stress response, fight or flight. And then the parasympathetic nervous system returns us to a calmer, more restful state. So just to give you an example, think about, you're stepping off a curb, getting ready to go because the sign says walk, and all of a sudden this car comes flying by and misses and runs the red light and almost hits you. Whoa, that's scary. So that's quite a perceived threat. What does your body do? Gosh, your heart rate's probably going. You're probably going to stop breathing for a second. What kind of things happen to you? You get overwhelmed. Now that's your sympathetic nervous system. Your parasympathetic nervous system is the branch that accomplishes the slowing down of the breathing and returning to a normal rate of breathing. Our blood pressure goes back down because of the parasympathetic nervous system, and everything else goes back to calm and reduce. That's what we want to activate now, because I'll tell you, we're kind of overwhelmed with all of the perceived threats. Our nervous system has several defense strategies to deal with stress, and none of these are voluntary. Nervous system isn't voluntary. We react automatically, without choice in several different ways. Our nervous system is constantly scanning the environment, making decisions about risks and threats, prioritizing which ones to address. And our bodies often react immediately if we find that somebody gives us a different kind of glance, or somebody's coughing and not covering and stuff like that. So that triggers our little fight or flight response when we feel threatened or and when we think we're threatened. And my notes. Now, freezing is another response, and we do that often too when we don't have any control. But there's another way, a newly discovered way to respond to stress involving social interactions, which is what we're dealing with right now. Like social engagement response. We quickly process information around those posing a threat, or we assess those changes in levels of danger. When we walk into a room where we don't know anybody, we always assess where the possible danger is. So, really, long story short, our stress response is held in the on position for a long period of time if we're constantly in a chronic amount of stress, kind of like a COVID-19 situation. And it can have significant negative impacts on our health and, our relationships. So when we're under stress, including chronic stress, kind of like we are now, we are impacted in a multitude of ways. Now, I'm going to list out a few of them, and I want you to think about areas that are most impacted by you if you identify or resonate with them. Cognitively, memory issues, decreased concentration, clarity of thought, loss of perspective, objective thinking, tunnel vision, increased worry, racing thoughts. Then there's the emotional. That's unprocessed stress. Moodiness, agitation, restlessness, anger, impatience, loneliness, isolation, depression. Then there's the behavioral. Changes in eating, changes in sleep, withdrawing from others, procrastination, my favorite. And then there's the physical. We got headaches, backaches, muscle pains, or tensions, or stiffness, chest pains, pounding heartbeat. Remember, these symptoms can also be triggered by other things. So before you go ahead and activating that sympathetic nervous system and start fight or flight thinking, talk to a doctor about that. Knowing how to respond to chronic stress gives you the opportunity to manage it more effectively. So I think that's a good idea, us to try to talk about a couple of things that I have taught people to manage stress. One is just imagine a beach and you see the waves come in and out. Every time, once of course you've sat down, and my chair is kind of goofy, sat down and gotten comfortable, relax, lessen your muscle tone. Every time you see the wave comes in, breathe in deep and say to yourself, I am. And then when you see that wave go back out to the ocean, say completely relaxed. Just try that a couple of times. I am completely relaxed. I am completely relaxed. And you want to try to breathe out more than you breathe in. That will activate that lovely parasympathetic nervous system to get you into a more calmer frame of mind. That will activate the prefrontal cortex, which helps you choose how to respond to the stress. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope that helps. Justin Hacking with the Red Cross. I'm a disaster mental health counselor. Good luck.